फरमाइएगा जी प्लीज़। आप पढ़ लिया सब लोगों ने, केस पढ़ लिया सब लोगों ने, डायरेक्टेड रीडिंग पढ़ ली। मुझे 2 वॉलंटियर्स चाहिए जो पहले एक बंदा आके बता दे कि उसने क्या समझा और फिर दूसरा बंदा आके बता दे कि उसने क्या समझा। तो हैं कोई वॉलंटियर्स या मैं बताऊं कौन होंगे? तो मेरे पास लिस्ट पड़ी है आपके कोर्स की, तो सबसे पहले 2 नाम होंगे उनको मैं बुला लूँगा। और लोग आप हैं एक, जो लोग एक बार कर लेंगे वो अगली बार नहीं होंगे, जैसे इन्होंने पिछली दफ़ा कर लिया था। तो अब आप और आप पहले आप आ जाएं सर। आप अच्छा ठीक है, आप आ जाएं, पहले आप आ जाएं, ठीक है आ जाएं। तो ये जो लोग वॉलंटियर कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि हमारी हर क्लास में इस तरह की एक्टिविटी होती है, तो आपकी भी बारी बहुत जल्दी आएगी, ठीक है जी। तो इसलिए अच्छा आप खुद ही हाथ खड़ा कर दें, वरना आखिर में मजबूरन आपको आना पड़ेगा। सनद रहे आपने किया है।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। I read the case in detail, थोड़ा सा रिव्यू मिला है मैम से। तो basically the case talks about accidental project managers and how organizations end up selecting project managers on ad hoc basis. What that means is that you might not have the competency of being a project manager or not have the knowledge as well. And if we can relate it to the case that was discussed in the last class, you can see that the project managers are hired, and in that case it was discussed that most of them, or 70% of them, had the knowledge about the project management basic attributes or skills that are required for conducting projects. So I believe we're discussing the rest of the 30% in this project itself. So when you're talking about lack of skilled workforce, the organizations actually, or the research actually shows within the organizations you might not have enough workforce available to run those projects, and that is why these projects not come up to the mark of good quality or either producing good results or outcomes in terms of profits as well. So they might be selected on basis of what your CEO wants, and so the project managers would be penalized on the basis of how they would be running the projects, even though they're new at the projects and they're noise project managers. So they would be penalized on that basis as well, and that is why they would end up either just focusing on the outcomes and lowering the quality of project itself, or not being able to handle their teams to get the best or effective results. So the research actually focused on communicating with a number of different project managers who had run or who had become accidental project managers, and asked them what are the basic questions that you would have liked, or the basic content you would have liked to have information about before conducting these projects, and that would have helped you in gaining better time in running the project itself with better quality. So there were 12 basic areas that they pointed out that you should have they should have been able to understand the context of project management, that the projects itself, they are not part of the structure of the organization, and they're taken as change agents. So the projects will not be connected with the hierarchy, which means that the project manager needs to realize from the very beginning that they're not going to be authoritative figures, and the people who are connected with the projects would be coming and going and are associated with other departments or the programs itself. So you will not have complete authority when it comes to conducting those projects. So you would not have complete control over the resources. How would you be able to conduct or get effective results? That would be through effective networking, which is a forte when it comes to experienced project managers, that they have properly networked their ways inside the organization, and they can get resources other than through the formal use of hierarchy of the organization itself. Then comes recognizing the team conflict. And all these basically 12 points, I'm going to just summarize them, that they focus on the fact that you have to exercise or learn leadership skills, communication skills, networking skills, politicking, to understand how the organization is operating, and understand that your project would not be or might not be the priority of the organization or your resources, and how will you be able to understand. And it focuses on the other part of the framework, where you would be focusing on communication and human resources and rest of the framework other than the triple constraints, and then be able to get your results. I hope this is what I understood.
Sir, आइए आप.
On है अच्छा मार्कर मिल जाए. All right, having gone through the case study, there are two elements to it. One side, the lady before me already covered. I'd like to start from, because I happened to read the first few pages of the 37-page chapter as well. So one interesting thing which I read in the beginning, which I would also like to share here. So the core of project management, from what I studied here, is this triangle, and three critical elements. Number one is output, then you have cost, you have time. So from all the important elements which decide whether a project is a success or not, these three are of the most critical nature: the output, the cost, finishing the project within the budgeted limits, and the time. And then there's a fourth element to it, which perhaps is equally important, and it umbrellas the entire triangle, and that is customer satisfaction. So this for me was the crux of the case study. Then I think the man before me has gone through the 6 essentials of project managers' forte. So I could give you a little brief on the remaining 6. 7th on the list is build and maintain a cohesive team. Again, the challenge here is because in a project manager or in a project management team, you've got people from different you form cross-functional teams. So the essence of a project team is that you've got, or the reason behind forming a team is that you've got people from different skill sets. You'd have people from engineering, for example. If you're doing a software project, you'd have people from people who write codes, then you have people for quality assurance, then you have overall project leads, and then you need people who are continually checking with the customer how the work is progressing and whether they are satisfied with how the project is progressing. So within this cross-functional team, cohesion is a big challenge, because if you've got people from the same backgrounds, it's easier for them to manage, and it's easier for the project manager himself to manage people from similar backgrounds. But having people from cross-functional teams, different backgrounds, different skill sets, it's difficult to maintain that cohesion in the team. So that's one important element for the project manager. Then number 8 is enthusiasm and despair are both infectious. Again, something which we all understand. Positivity, negativity, both are infectious. And that's something which the project manager has to be very careful about. Number 9 is one look forward is worth 2 looks back. Interesting example quoted here: when the English Channel was being constructed, the budget, I think the budget was around $2 billion, and it shot up to $16 billion, something like that. And when the project manager was asked, and then time limit was also exceeded multiple times, when he was asked that why has the project not been completed and when will it be completed, so his eventual reply, which is stated as a classic here, is it will be completed when it is completed. So that's a way of looking at things in a positive fashion. That's number 9. Number 10 is remember what you are trying to do. Again, the focus, the outcome. That's important for the project manager to focus on. Number 11 is use time carefully or it will use you. Again, one of the 3 core elements is time. So time on the outcomes and time to achieve the results, and not deviating from the focus of the project. It happens multiple times to all of us in whatever endeavors we encounter as well, that a lot of times we deviate from what we're actually, or what we should actually be aiming for. So it applies to our regular life as well. And number 12 is, above all, plan, plan, and plan. I think that's self-explanatory. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
अच्छा जी, तो इसका ये जो 2 लोग आके, छोटा केस हो तो 1 लोग, 2 बड़ा केस हो तो 2 लोग आके समराइज हमेशा करेंगे. उसका मकसद 2 मकसद होते हैं. एक मकसद ये होता है कि जिन्होंने बिल्कुल ही नहीं पढ़ा उनको पता चल जाए कि इसमें था क्या, और दूसरा इवेंचुअली जो नहीं पढ़ेंगे ना उनको थोड़ी देर से में पता चलना शुरू हो जाएगा कि वो गलत कर रहे हैं, नंबर कटवा रहे हैं अपने. दूसरा मकसद ये होता है कि आपको मुख्तलिफ पर्सपेक्टिव्स पता चलें एक ही चीज़ पे, कि एक ही चीज़ पढ़ के किस तरह 2 लोग उससे मुख्तलिफ चीज़ें निकालते हैं. ठीक है जी. तो अभी हमने करना ये है, आपको ये बताने, ये केस स्टडी पढ़वाने का और इस चीज़ को रिवाइज़ करने का एक मकसद था. वो मकसद है वो असाइनमेंट जिसका मैंने आपको शुरू में कहा था, असाइनमेंट या जो भी कह लें उसको, जिसमें आप सबके पूरे नंबर आएंगे. वो है जी ये जो चीज़ है, और ये जो 5 डजन या ये 12 ट्रेड्स जो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर को चाहिए, इनकी लाइट में, यानी आपने अपनी पुरानी अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं इस्तेमाल करनी, नए आइडियाज नहीं देने. ठीक है जी. इन दोनों चीज़ की रिफ्लेक्शन आनी चाहिए आपके जवाब में. तो इन दोनों पे बिल्ड करते हुए कोई 10 कॉम्पिटेंसीज बताएं, कोई 10 कॉम्पिटेंसीज जो आपके ख्याल में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर. वो फिलहाल PMC की तरफ ना जाएं, लेकिन उनके नाम बताएं. अगर वो आपको अप्रोप्रिएट लगती है तो वो भी ठीक है. वो जो 6 पर्सनल है और 5 परफॉर्मेंस. हर कॉम्पिटेंसी के लिए ये बताएं कि ये प्रोजेक्ट की कौन सी नीड फुलफिल करेगी. प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर को सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट 10 कॉम्पिटेंसीज कौन सी है और ये प्रोजेक्ट की कौन सी नीड फुलफिल करेगी. तो आपने जो अपना जवाब देना है अभी करनी है, आपने हम तरह से मदद कर लेंगे. अपने जवाब में अपना नाम और अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लिखिएगा जी. आप क्या जॉब, वहाँ पे क्या जॉब कर रहे हैं, जिससे पता चलेगा कि पर्सपेक्टिव कैसे आपका बिल्ड हो रहा है इस चीज़ पर. और ज़्यादा लंबी स्टोरी नहीं लिखनी, एक तरफ लिस्ट लिखें, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 कॉम्पिटेंसीज. अगले खाने में लिखें नीड ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट, और आगे लिखते हैं कि ये नीड फुलफिल करेगी ये कॉम्पिटेंसी. तो आपका जवाब कुछ ऐसे होगा, एक टेबल होगा जिसमें आपका नाम वगैरह के बाद यहाँ पे कॉम्पिटेंसीज होंगी और प्रोजेक्ट नीड्स कौन सी फुलफिल हो रही है. बस सिर्फ ये आपने जवाब. चूंकि मैंने आपको पहले से बता दिया कि आप सबके पूरे नंबर आएंगे, तो सोच समझ के अपना पर्सपेक्टिव देना है. क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपने ये पढ़ा कि प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर 10 नॉलेज एरियाज होते हैं प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट के अंदर, और 5 प्रोसेस ग्रुप्स होते हैं. ये तो बेसिकली कॉम्पिटेंसीज यहाँ से कहीं ना कहीं से निकल रही हैं इसके साथ मिलकर. और अभी आपने एक पेपर पढ़ा जिसमें 12 क्वालिटीज़ बताई हैं जो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर के अंदर होनी चाहिए. तो ये दोनों पढ़ के आपको क्या लगता है कि वो 10 सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट कौन सी कॉम्पिटेंसीज हैं जो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर के अंदर होनी चाहिए. एक तरफ आप लिख लेंगे कि ये 10, फिर आप बताएंगे कि हर कॉम्पिटेंसी प्रोजेक्ट की कौन सी नीड को पूरा करती है. جیسے آپ فرض کریں لکھتے ہیں کہ کمیونیکیشن اس کی بہت اچھی ہونی چاہیے, تو پھر وہ آگے آپ لکھ دیں گے کہ بہت سارے اسٹیک ہولڈرز ہوتے ہیں, ان کو ٹائم پہ ان کے کام کی صحیح بات بتانا امپورٹنٹ ہوتا ہے تاکہ وہ فیڈ بیک دیں. اسی لیے یہ کمیونیکیشن ایک امپورٹنٹ نیڈ کو فلفل کرتی ہے. اس طرح سب کا آپ جواب